Hey everybody, welcome to your readings for the week. These are the readings. Blech. My mouth doesn't want to work today. That doesn't work for me. These are the readings for the week ending October 29th, our last full week of October. Well, we have no Mercury retrograde. Thank goodness for that. At least we got some good news there, but we do have some stuff that is taking place right now. And of course, we got a lot of stuff moving into Scorpio, and that is actually going to cause some problems there for sure, because there are planets in the other fixed signs, which means they're all going to line up in very challenging ways, unfortunately. And so we're going to kick that off this week. So all the fixed signs except for Leo, you Leos this week are off the hook, but all the rest of the fixed signs, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Taurus, are going to have a bit of a challenge this week because of that. We're going to go ahead and get started though and see how it is a challenge for you personally. And we're going to start with Jordan. We have actually no planets in Aries. We do have Jupiter on the cusp. It's 29 degrees Pisces because it is retrograde and moving backwards. So it's moving backwards into Pisces. When it goes direct, it'll come back through. It'll go all the way through. And then it is actually going to leave about March, April-ish. And then you won't have any planetary influences at all, which is good and bad. I mean, in all honesty, when a planet is in a sign, it can create some challenges, but it does line up with other planets in helpful ways, bringing different aspects of your life together in a helpful way. Without the planet influence, in some cases it's like a free draw. You get to basically choose whatever you want, but it doesn't actually help you. There's no help towards that particular thing either. So I mean, it has its good points and its bad points for sure. Being that Jupiter is still 29 degrees in Pisces means it is very much on the cusp, so you're still going to feel anything that's going on with him. And right at the end of the week is when you're really going to feel it, as the moon moves into Capricorn and moves into opposition with Mars, which is not quite retrograde yet. It's going to go retrograde next week. Both planets move into a square with Jupiter, and that creates a T-square. So it's a pretty major challenge right at the end of the week, unfortunately. Let's put that to the side for a minute and look at how Jupiter is helping you out. Actually, focus is on the mind this week. That's very interesting, especially for Aries. Jupiter's sextile with Pluto is very helpful all throughout the week. Now, Pluto's focus is on self, and Aries' focus is on the mind and how you think. Pluto is your source of power, or it represents where you tend to be powerful. To look at how you think about certain things actually is what makes you powerful when you think about it. And in fact, that is a lesson that I have learned recently in the past few years. And it's a lesson that has really meant everything to me. We all go to that stinking thinking place. We all go to that, oh, this is a big project and it's really exciting and I'd love to do it, but I'm probably going to screw it up, and I'm probably not good enough, and blah, 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 right? Well, that takes away your power. And Pluto's all about power. So all that negative self-talk is taking away your power from being successful. When you add what other people are saying that is not necessarily positive feedback, that doesn't help that situation at all. This whole thing is basically lining up for you for the next few weeks, as a matter of fact, lining up for you to remind you that your power lies within yourself. Everything that you need to be successful lives inside of you. Every single thing that is going to destroy your success also lives inside of you. Basically, you are the beginning and the end all of everything. That is, I know, quite a tall order. I do understand. Okay. But we're talking about power here. Most of us think of power as a dictator, as a queen or a king. You know, we're talking somebody who rules everything around you. And that's not what true power is. Power is the ability to make change. It's the ability to succeed. It's the ability to look at something and say, I want that, and do nothing but get that. And that's it, period. And I feel like you are right on the ledge, ready to jump off and see if you're going to fall or fly at this particular point. And your brain is sitting there going, bitch, you're going to fall. I mean, just think about it. You are going to fall, right? But your faith has to say, no, I'm going to fly. And the ledge isn't really that tall. If you fall, it's really not that big of a deal. You get back up, and next time you jump off, maybe you fly. Okay. Point being, I feel like this week you're really going to go through some questions. You're going to be questioning yourself, whether or not you can be successful, whether or not you are good enough. Is what they're saying about me not being very good actually true? Maybe I should be listening instead of fighting against it. You just stop that right now. Okay. First of all, you're a woman, and women have power, more power than they think they do. Second of all, you're an Aries. You can plow through anything you want, and don't you forget it. Okay. Whatever happened is in the past. You want to take that and you want to go, okay, I want to avoid that happening again. And you want to move on to the next thing where that doesn't happen. Now, I do know that about a week, it would be about a week ago now. For me recording this video, it was this last weekend. So when you're watching the video, it was a week ago. Okay. That there was a big photo shoot, and you know, I know because Dave was involved, and I'm not saying that he told me all about it. I just heard some stuff. But I feel like the impression that I got as I was, when I listen, I visualize. And as I was visualizing you, it was just like, I want you to just do what I asked you to do. I don't need your feedback. I don't need your, and I'm not specifying who this is directed at. Okay. It could be directed at a lot of people, and that's why. And I don't feel that it ended that day. I feel like it keeps coming up. It's been coming up off and on from different sources. And I almost feel like this is putting you in this position where you're still wanting to fight. I'm fighting for what I want to do. And yet at the same time, you're second guessing. Maybe they are right. Now, this T-square challenge with the moon, which is focused on self, with Mars, which is focused on your schedule, which is probably full because of somebody other than you. We'll just put it that way. And with Jupiter, which is again focused on the mind. This is what this is all creating for you. Okay. Now I want you to take the time after you listened to me ramble on about this. I want you to take the time. I want you to separate yourself from everybody. Go to a quiet place. You want to smoke a bowl? Go ahead. I don't really care. Okay. And take a piece of paper and a pen. Write down the pros and cons of continuing to do what you want to do for a career, not what everybody else wants you to do, but what you want to do. I see you moving, taking the steps, learning something else, making it a little better over here. You're taking I don't want to say small steps because they're not all small steps in some cases, maybe, but you are taking steps towards this goal, right? And it may not be your whole entire life, but you have things you want to accomplish with this. And sometimes I feel like it's possible that you're almost always in a struggle between what you want and what somebody else wants. That's all I'm going to say about it. This is about you, and it doesn't necessarily affect them right now. It's not like it's taking time away from that. You're able to manage it to fit into that, and you will still be able to do that for a while. But you don't want the fear of they're never going to let me go to get in the way of what you can do now, because that all could change later on. I've rambled on for like probably a half an hour at this particular point. I don't even know, because there's no way for me to tell. It's not telling me how long I've gone on. Anyways, I'm giving you lots of hugs, and know that when you go through those times where you feel like they're just beating the hell out of you, and they may have beaten you, you just think of me and I'll pop in there and we're in this together. Okay. We're going to put it that way. We're in this together. So I love you and I hope you see this. And that is what I have for you, Jordan. Okay. Moving on to Darcy. Hi, Darcy. We're going to start with the bad news, okay? Because there's no way around it. If you watch the intro to the video, you already know what's coming anyways. If you did not watch the intro to the video, Uranus is still in your sign, obviously. 17 degrees, we got a ways to go. Still in retrograde this week, still in a square with Saturn, who is not retrograde. And as the week progresses, the Sun, Venus, and Mercury are all moving into Taurus, which is your opposite sign, which is also squared with Aquarius. So we're talking eventual moving into a T-square challenge. We're not quite there yet, but that opposition, it's basically starting. We'll just put it that way. It is starting. We're still squared. We're in opposition with at least one planet already. As we move into next week, we will full on have all of that taking place. So it is coming. Uranus is in opposition with the Sun and Venus starting this week, still squared with Saturn. The only thing that makes this not a T-square is the fact that Saturn isn't squared with the other two planets yet, which is going to happen here within the next couple of weeks. But let's just look at the opposition to start, and then we'll add the layer of the square with it. My brain just went all of a sudden. We're trying to call it back here because that would be easier. I have a cat sleeping in my lap, and that's probably what it is. It's just so relaxing that you just kind of want to stop and relax yourself. Uranus opposition with the Sun and Venus. Uranus, of course, a Taurus, is focused on the home and those that you love. So those people that are in the home, mainly the people that are closest to you. And of course, I see for you that the people that are closest to you are not necessarily in your home. And there's a whole bunch of those people also. The Sun and Venus are focused on career. So an opposition always creates a tug of war. And this responsibilities to the people you love and responsibilities to your career and your career goals is always a tug of war for women. It has always been a tug of war for women since women started working outside of the home. This the square with Saturn's focus is on the past, and this actually makes this a very interesting challenge because this tug of war is not new. Okay, we'll just put it that way. It's not new. It's something that you've been through over and over again. When you look back to the past to see how you dealt with that, what you find is ways that you dealt with that that worked out, and ways that you've dealt with that that actually made it a bigger mess than it actually was in the first place. So you get a very clear idea of both sides, which is very helpful in many ways. With that, sometimes we're looking at the past with rose-colored glasses, and that's where it becomes a challenge. So it really is up to you whether you want to look at that as being helpful or whether you want to make it more challenging, I guess. You're right on the cusp there. So it really could go either way. And I do feel like in many ways it is your emotional state that is going to determine this, because you know as well as I do, I feel we're very similar in this anyways. That when I'm in an okay emotional or mental state, it could be, you know, it could be something huge, and it's not really, it's like, oh man, this is such a bummer, right? When you're not in an okay emotional state, it's like, what is happening to me, right? That is a choice, and some days it's just harder to make the right choice. That's where I kind of go with that, if that makes sense. Now let's talk about where Uranus is actually helpful. I love saying Uranus. I know a lot of people actually pronounce it Uranus because it's less dirty, but it's way too much fun to say Uranus. So that's just how that is. There is a sextile between Uranus and Jupiter, which is helpful through this chaotic, little bit of a chaotic mess, if that makes sense. Let me get a drink of coffee here. Oh, so good. And it's hot. It's like fresh too. Jupiter's focus is on how you think. Oddly enough, with Jupiter's focus being on how you think, and Jupiter's retrograde also. Jupiter's all about expansion and making things bigger. And when it's retrograde, it actually helps you in a situation like this. It helps you to not make things bigger than they need to be, if that makes sense, because we all do that too. We're all guilty of that from time to time. So that does help, and it helps in the direction of where are we going to make it bigger? Right here. We're going to think of something, we're going to react to it, it's just going to come out of our mouths, and then, you know, this shit hits the fan, basically. That's just kind of how that works. So it is a bit of a challenge, and it is going to continue to be a bit of a challenge, but that sextile is going to continue to be there as well to kind of boost and help you out, if that makes sense. Mainly because there isn't really a whole lot in the other earth signs to help you out. Pluto is really the only thing in another earth sign, and it's unfortunately where the planets are in the signs, it does not line up to in a helpful way at all. This week for you, I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing really in terms of all of this is I feel like I and I want to say that this came up maybe last week also, but I feel like you're poised to make a decision in your career, whether it's a move, a promotion, whatever it is, it's a step up. But I also feel like somebody has a problem with that. It's going to inconvenience them for whatever reason. So I feel the struggle and the struggle to try and find a way to make both work, and that's impossible. And so you're going to have to make a choice. And I really feel strongly, very strongly, that the choice that needs to be made here, it's about you. It's not about anybody else. It's about you. I don't feel like you have ever made that choice to be about you, 100% about you. Maybe a little bit, maybe in small, but ultimately it is always a sacrifice of Darcy to make somebody else happy. And I can see where sometimes that might have worked out, but I don't really feel also that you're ever getting what you should be getting when you do that. So this time I really just feel pulled to tell you that it needs to be about Darcy and what Darcy wants, not needs, wants. Because it's also important for you to know that what you want, it's okay to want it. You don't have to justify it. You don't have to talk yourself or anybody else into it. You just have to do it. You just have to go after it because you want it. That's what I have for you this week. Okay. We're on a roll here. Moving on to Connie. Da, 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 da. So I am just going to start off by telling you that there are planets in all the other fixed signs, not yours. And because there are planets in all the other fixed signs, it's a big old mess over there, but not for you. At least not this week. If we can keep that moon out of there, it'll be a lot easier, right? Well, this week we're going to keep that moon out of here. That's all there is to it. Don't need to see it. It's on the other side of the zodiac. Don't need to bother with it. Focuses on money this week. With really nothing to influence that. It just is what it is. Your focus is on money this week. I do know, and actually we kind of had a bit of a conversation about worrying about all the time that you've taken off because you had your surgery and all of this stuff going on with your family. Well, it always, it never rains but pours in your family anyways. And for most of us, it's like that too. So, it is, that is what it is. Okay. We'll take it for what it is, I guess. But I also am, I'm kind of hearing this lady, and I don't know which lady it is because it's like they're talking behind me and whispering it in my ear, but they are saying you always, I don't like that wording. You can always come up with a reason why you can't put money towards something you need or want. Now, I feel like I'm taking that with a grain of salt because I have seen that you do put money towards you. Maybe not every second of every day, but you put a lot of money towards you. Okay. But I can also see what they're saying in terms of when you're making the money. And I feel like it's important to say that what all this stuff that is going on around you with your family and the drama that comes with it, you have to be aware of setting those boundaries so that the crazy stuff is happening when you are available to deal with it, and it's not infiltrating what you're doing in terms of your work schedule. That includes the amount of appointments you have and the quality of the appointments you have. I have noticed something that I identify with in the our past doings, and that is with the appointments. Do I need to go to this one? Do I need to go to that one? Can this one, on one hand you want a full week of appointments, on the other hand you're like, that's exhausting and I won't be able to go home and lay on the couch, which I really need. I'm totally in the same place with you. I am like, yes, I need a full week of appointments. And then I'm like, oh, that sounds like a lot of work. And it's not that I don't want to do the work. It's more, I'm afraid that I'm not going to have the energy to do it. And that is what I'm talking about here for you as well. That fear of, but what happens if this comes up, or this, or what's going to come next in terms of the family drama and blah blah blah, is taking up so much energy that it is exhausting you, and therefore you're not putting what you could potentially put into your work schedule. So I feel that it's really important for you to be mindful of that this week, every single day this week if necessary. I hope that's when I do that, it's not making a loud noise. Maybe I should stop just in case it is. So that's one thing that's coming up. The other thing Mama Anna, it's okay. It's like she's showing me you as a little girl laying in a bed, and she's there and she's got the soup and she's got the thermometer, she's got the juice and she's got the medicine, and she's just flitting around your bed like Tinkerbell doing all this stuff. And I feel like she wants you to know that she has been there, and she's saying that issue you have with sleeping, going to sleep, she says, close your eyes and open your mind to me, and I'll sing you a lullaby so you can go to sleep. Her energy is so warm and fuzzy like a blanket that I just adore. I just adore it. It's pink and fuzzy and sparkly. And I love it when she comes and shares her energy with me. And that is what I have for you. Thank you, Mama Anna. Yes, that is what I have for you. I had a little moment with her there for a minute. Adore her. Simply adore her. Okay, I'm going to move on to Jenny. Hi, Jenny. And I'm going to tell you also that all the other fixed signs have planets in them. It's chaotic mess, but not yours. At least until the moon comes in, and we're looking at a couple of weeks before that happens. Maybe the mess will move on a little bit. We can only hope. I'm not really sure because I haven't quite got there yet on the horoscopes. I'm at the week before that, so I couldn't tell you. I think from doing the yearly readings for this year when I did them, if I'm not mistaken, we are going to have a fixed grand cross with the moon moving into Leo in a few weeks, a couple of weeks. But we're not going to worry about that this week because we don't want nothing to do with that. Focus is on finances, and with no planets at all to influence you, it's like free reign. Oh my God, what do I do with this money? That's nice. That's a nice place to be, my friend. I am glad for you. Cheers. Oh, that coffee is good right now. I really feel actually that this week for you, I know we have talked about a trip that you are planning for the end of the year, also another one that's more than likely going to happen next year. But I do see a little extra money. And I also feel that I don't get to say that to people very much. It's really sad. I do see a little extra money, and I see you on the fence. Like you're like, I really should put this towards something responsible. Be responsible, Jenny. And yet at the same time, it's like I could really use, and then you've got a long list, right? I don't think you spoil yourself enough. I don't think you spend enough of your money on you. Of course, you've got kids, and I never had any extra money when I had kids. Just soaked it right up, those little suckers. And I don't regret it. I loved every minute of it. I think you need, yes. I don't even know what it is, but yes, Jenny, yes, do it. Yes, 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 yes. There's literally a lady with my head. Whoa, okay. There's literally a lady like, yes, do it. Jenny, I think you should go for it. Yes, you should spend the money on whatever it is. I don't know what it is. It doesn't matter. She said, yes, do it. Okay. Wow. Mm. This is an older lady, by the way. Very sweet. Oh, I'm kind of dizzy from doing all that. Very sweet, but she didn't mess around. Okay. So I wouldn't mess with her. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm a little afraid of her coming back too. If she get, not that she will get mad. Okay, but yes, it's a yes. Um, okay. I'm like, I don't know why I see you with cat ears and a tail, but duh, it's Halloween weekend, so have fun with that. Yay. Actually, I see you having a lot of fun. Um I actually see like something where it looks like maybe you won't be able to go to this party or what have you. So it kind of goes back and forth. If I'm going, you're going, because I can see you there. So yeah, and whatever's going on, it's going to smooth itself over, and you'll be fine. That's what I have for you. God, I love telling people they got extra money. Have fun with that. Whatever it is, buy it. She said so. Okay. The answer is yes. Remember that. The answer is yes. Okay, we are moving on to wrong thing to Linda. Hey, Linda. We got nothing going on in Virgo as far as major planets, I should say. All of that has moved out and it's gone. Even the moon was there last week. It is gone. We're kicking off in Libra. So, yeah, that's actually kind of nice after that whole Mercury retrograde, all the planets in there, all of the, yeah, I can't even say it, right? Can't even say it. Let's breathe. That is number one. I do feel that it is important, really important for you to take the time, just a few minutes of deep breathing. One, it's a relaxation thing. It's a focus thing. So it helps clear your mind to focus on one thing. But I think it's also a health thing as well. Because I'm seeing a lot of when you're talking a lot, for example, you don't breathe in like you should breathe in, if that makes sense. It's always a lot of short breaths and stuff like that. And I just think that you need to get that oxygen in. It's just going to help with so many things, including your focus as well as your ability to keep going, whatever the word is for that. I can't think of it right now. So that's the first thing. Focus is on long-term goals. Interesting. We do have Ceres influence in Virgo this week, which is a smaller dwarf planet, so it doesn't have quite the same impact as the primary planets, but it still does have an effect, especially when it's literally the only thing in there. And its focus is on finances. So we're actually looking at long-term financial goals here. I see your head in about 4 different places when you're thinking about this. And it's that Virgo getting ahead of yourself kind of a thing. And this is also where the deep breathing comes in, because it is going to help with that sort of the way your brain works in that way. It'll help alleviate that a little bit so that things are actually a little bit smoother, because let's face it, you have so much going on that you need things to be smooth. You need things to run smoothly. I literally swear that my lighter just moved when I was talking. I don't actually know if it did, but in the corner of my eye, it moved right in the middle of what I was saying. Whatever that means. I think it means that you really should pay attention to what I'm saying. The next thing is I just had what looks like a very old man lean down, look at me and say, and ask her when was the last time she spoke to her counsel. And he is dead serious. I feel like I should apologize, and I haven't even done anything. It's very important that you do visit your counsel. They have some things that they need to tell you. So that's what I have for you. And I'm going to take a quick break. Okay, we are back. Oh, eye booger. Yuck. Don't want to see that. All right. We are back. Theresa Demarco next on my list. Hi, Theresa. Well, we're going to kick off the week with the moon in Libra because you know you like to party. We're going to kick off the week with the moon in Libra, which is actually kind of cool as it moves into a conjunction with Mercury, as Mercury is on its way out of Libra anyways. Also will be out by the end of the week. But before that happens, we still have a grand trine with Mercury and the moon at the beginning of the week, as well as Mars and Saturn. Mars is still moving direct, will be retrograde, I do believe, next week. That's coming up here. So but it's forward moving now, so we won't worry about it being retrograde. Grand trines are awesome, and this really is the last week of this grand trine. We have had it for a couple of weeks now, and it is actually going to start to break up right at the end of the week here, so we got to enjoy it while we have it, right? Mercury in Libra, this is also Mercury's last week in Libra, and then starting next week, you won't have any planets in Libra at all, except for the moon whenever it comes in. Planet influences are good and bad. You know, I don't think that having planets versus not having planets is you know, good or bad, really. Grand trines are amazing though, and when we're talking about air grand trines, we're talking about ideas, we're talking about big ideas. Focus is on career this week. Saturn's focus is on the past, giving you some interesting tidbits from the past to help you learn now. And Mars focus is on your day-to-day schedule. Now, sorry about that. That's what I get for doing this recording and drinking coffee, by the way, because coffee actually dries my mouth out. But it's so good. And I just love it. Anyways, grand trines. I really feel like what this is pointing towards now is moving up in your job in some way. So there's opportunities either to take on a little bit more work, or there's opportunities to move up to maybe a better route or a better schedule. There's even the opportunity to move up in pay, if that makes sense. And Mars energy into your schedule is actually really interesting, because Mars has a very, can be sometimes a volatile energy, but it is all about this sort of aggressive energy that moves forward. And I feel like, you know, in terms of Saturn's placement on the past, you're talking about responsibilities, past responsibilities, taking on responsibilities now, etc., etc. It's also showing you where you were taking on responsibilities that maybe you didn't need to also. And in some cases, taking on those responsibilities held you back. This is not being held back. This is straightforward movement for you. So I feel like how this sort of plays out for you is that there are continue to be opportunities of growth and expansion within your career. And while you may feel like you're too busy or your schedule isn't permitting that, it will. And of course, the moon moves out of all of that by the end of the week. There is a square with Pluto, Mercury squared with Pluto. Pluto is on self, focused on self. Pluto is all about personal power and transformation, specifically transformation in order to gain that power. And so when you are talking about Mercury's placement being in your career, feeling like it's taking your power away, you don't want to react to that fear. You simply want to take that into consideration. How much am I giving away to these people by taking this position also? It's all about negotiation. when it comes down to it. It's all about how you negotiate your time, your money, everything. So just make sure that everything that you have a concern about is covered and that you're having a discussion. It's not them going, hey, look, we're awesome and we're going to offer this to you. And, you know, you're nobody if you don't take it. This is them saying, hey, we're awesome and we're going to offer this to you. And you go, oh, great, I'm awesome too. What else can you offer me? Okay. So that's one thing. The other thing is I kind of see or feel that we'll just put it this way. I see you putting flowers on a grave. So I'm not sure if this is because there's an anniversary of losing somebody coming up or if it's just maybe because Halloween weekend and that was somehow associated with another person. I just want to say that whoever this person is does not want you to is honored that you're taking the time to honor them, but does not want you to spend all of your time doing that. I think this is Scott actually, because he's saying, no, I want to see you in that sexy costume that you got. So basically, yes, he enjoys that you're honoring him, but take a moment out of your weekend to do that, not the whole weekend, is what he's saying. So that's what I have for you, Theresa. And I am going to move on to Regina. Hey, Regina. So let's just throw it all on the table. Everything is moving into Scorpio this week. Sun and Venus in perfect conjunction with each other as they enter. We're literally kicking off the week with both of them in 0 degrees. This is happening today, basically. And by the end of the week, we will see Mercury on that cusp ready to bounce on in there too. So you got kind of a party going on, and you know what? It's Scorpio season, right? It is time to party anyways, although you're well, no, you're on the cusp. That means happy birthday to you probably today if you're looking at this on Sunday. Happy birthday to you, and I hope it's a good one. And you get something really cool because I think you deserve to get something really cool. Now, it's awesome when planets move into your sign. Unfortunately, when you've got 2 planets that take forever to move out of a sign in the 2 other fixed signs, we're going to have a problem. And we're going to start that problem right away. Okay. Let's not waste time. Let's just jump right into this is a flippin' problem. Okay. As we move into opposition with Uranus. Uranus is focused on those you love, and in some cases, the home this week. Scorpio's focus is on career and your support system. We're still a little bit in that support system there too. I feel like we're leaving that behind though a little bit. It's not so much that you don't need a support system or you don't deserve a support system. It's more like I kind of get this sort of mentality of why ask for help when they're not going to do it right anyways. I might as well just do it myself, kind of a thing. I don't, that mentality, that thought process, I learned a long time ago is a trap. Okay, that is me saying I don't want help, but I don't want to be stuck doing everything either. So when that was brought up to me about the dishes, it's my girlfriend came to me and she said, I rinsed all your dishes, but I stacked them up and didn't put them in the dishwasher because I know how particular you are about how things go in the dishwasher. And I bing, ding, 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 ding. You're a control freak. You're a control freak. Totally went off in my head, right? And I said, you know what? I love you, and I love you enough to let you put them in the dishwasher however you want to put them in the dishwasher, because I really don't care, and I let that go. Unfortunately, I haven't identified all the other ways that I'm a control freak. Yeah, but I'm getting there. Little by little, we get there, right? And that's just how that works. So you do want to be mindful of that, because I think that we all do that. Women especially do that a lot. It's very much kind of ingrained in us to feel like nobody can do it as good as we can, kind of a thing. We also have the moon moving into your sign pretty early on in the week. Actually, by Wednesday, the moon will be in conjunction with the sun and Venus as well. There's a couple of things actually that I'm picking up from all of this that's taking place right now. First of all, and it's all happening around the cusp too. It's happening around your birthday, literally. First of all, I think this has come up before, but I do see the possibility of a promotion or a move, maybe to a different department or something along those lines. It is a step up. And I also feel a lot of fear around this step up, not as much excitement as fear of moving forward. Now, one of the issues with being a fixed sign, which Scorpio is, luckily you're on the cusp, so you can kind of lean on your cardinal Libra influence a little bit. Being a fixed sign, we do not like change. We like things to stay the same way every day for the rest of our lives. It makes it so much easier. Our day is just planned out. Everything is. The problem with living like that is you never progress forward. You never get out of doing the same thing over and over again. And I kind of feel like there's a part of you that wants to do that, but the fear of the change, the amount of work it's going to take, all those things, we can talk ourselves out of anything, basically. And so I see a little bit of an element of that, but this opportunity is there. And we continue to have a grand air trine because Mercury is still in Libra technically. By the end of the week, it'll be 29 degrees Libra. But the sun and the moon are going to kind of bring this element into Scorpio a little bit as well towards the beginning of the week. A grand air trine is awesome. Any grand trine is awesome. Okay. But a grand air trine is like, let's take ideas and make them mean something and make them huge and just go for it, right? Air signs are all about intellect. So it's all about logic right now and trying to navigate with logic. Now, being a Scorpio on the cusp of Libra, which is an air sign, but the more emotional of the air signs, that may not be the easiest thing in the world for you to do, because I do feel that you tackle things emotionally. How does this feel? But this week, it's really important to incorporate how does this make sense into how this feels. Remember, being a Libra is all about balance. You have to use both emotion and logic in order to make a decision. And when you're too emotional or too logical, it doesn't always work out very well. You have to use both. So it's important to do that. It's also important, if there is fear around this, to try and face your fear as much as possible. If you are allowing the fear to stop you from taking this opportunity, you're also denying yourself. You don't know, because if you don't take it, obviously you don't know, right? But you're denying yourself a lot of awesome things by turning down this opportunity or by not going after this opportunity, if that makes sense at all. As we go through the rest of the week, the moon moves on out of there. We are going to start to move into a bit of a challenge, because we have planets into of the other fixed signs. Not 4, thank goodness, but we will have our moment when the moon moves into Leo. So as the sun and Venus move into an opposition with Uranus and also move into a square with Saturn, we start to move into what's called a T-square. It's a pretty major challenge. Oppositions are always tug of wars. So we're looking at this opportunity possibly getting in the way of your responsibilities at home or your responsibilities to a particular individual at home. And that creates the tug of war because your hours may change and there may be more of them or what have you. So it is a bit of a problem, but when you look at Saturn's placement in this problem, focus on the past. The past actually has a lot of helpful tips for us when we were in this situation last. How did we handle it? Did that work out? Did that not work out? Did sacrificing myself for somebody else actually work out in my favor? There's a lot of things that you can learn by looking at this same exact circumstance taking place in the past. I feel strongly that this is a good opportunity for you. And it may mean learning how to do something completely different, but you're not too old to do that, first of all. I'm saying that on purpose because I have a feeling that that's coming up. And it's not going to take you forever. You're going to pick it up way quicker than you think you are. I don't see a lot of complications in this opportunity. It is different. You're going to have to adjust. But it is a very good opportunity. So it's definitely worth really seriously thinking about there. So that's what I have for you, Regina. And I'm going to move on to my Scorpio, Theresa Sheppard. Hi, Theresa. Interesting stuff taking place in Scorpio this week. Especially as the sun and Venus, and eventually Mercury move into Scorpio this week. In fact, we start off the week with the sun and Venus in conjunction with each other right there at 0 degrees Scorpio. So it is officially Scorpio season as of this week. Yeehaw, right? Yay for Scorpio season. And that's going to bring its good points and its bad points. We're just going to put that way. Unfortunately, there's 2 planets in 2 other fixed signs. When you have planets in other fixed signs, and you're a fixed sign, which Scorpio is, then we run the risk of having the problem of a challenge. And so we are literally moving into that challenge by the end of the week as these planets start moving into Scorpio. But as Mercury is moving into Scorpio, he's lining up with some planets in very positive ways also, which is helpful around that situation. Focuses on career. The sun's house is where you shine. Venus's house is where you tend to be really creative. Mercury's house is where you are a good communicator. And I feel it's important this week in terms of your career to be a good communicator. We're not in any kind of Mercury retrograde or anything like that, but miscommunications happen all the time, retrograde or not. These kinds of miscommunications happen all the time. So I feel it's really actually very important to make sure that when you are communicating, that you're communicating all the information, that you ask them if they understand, blah, blah, blah. I feel like there's a specific situation that you may be dealing with at some point this week with somebody who would say, yes, I understand completely, and then later on tell somebody, oh no, she didn't explain that to me, which she did. So you just want to cover your bases with that, if that makes sense. As we move into the end of the week, the Sun and Venus move into opposition with Uranus. They will move into a square position with Saturn next week, which means it's going to become a T-square, which is going to be a much bigger challenge. At this point now with the opposition, Uranus's focus is on home. Scorpio's focus is on career. That creates that tug of war back and forth that always happens, has been happening since the dawn of time and women working. It's just how it is. Unfortunately, it's also a great big giant pain in the rear whenever it comes up, because I feel, especially in the situation that you're in right now, I feel like you already feel like you're doing everything. You're carrying all the weight. And any kind of little inconvenience, not major problem, but little inconvenience that somebody can't just deal with themselves, is really frustrating. And I feel like that frustration can blow up pretty quickly if you're not careful. So you just want to be aware of that so it doesn't catch you off guard, or so that the reaction doesn't happen in an improper moment, if that makes sense. Like you have clients or colleagues or something like that standing around listening to your conversation. I feel like this opposition really has a lot to do with what's going on with your husband right now and your husband's health right now. And it's a very difficult situation to be in the position that you're in, where your job is all over the place, but your responsibility is over here too. And I just feel like there may be some issues with the support system at home, if that makes sense. Not to say that anything horrible is going to happen. It's just one of those. That's why I say communication is really important. Like making sure that you're not rushing through your communication with people is definitely going to help out with this, because then there won't be too many misunderstandings, at least not from your end anyways. And that's really all I am showing for you. I mean, it's really, I see a lot of work opportunity that's taking place, but you know, that tug of war is just, it's something that's, doesn't matter if it comes up in the charts or not. It is what it is. It's always there, kind of a thing. I just feel like it may not run as smoothly as it normally does this week. So that is what I have for you. And I'm moving on to my Sagittarians. And I'm going to start with Amanda. Let's just see here. So we have not a whole lot of planets going on in Sagittarius until the moon comes in there Thursday and Friday. Now, the moon coming in there Thursday and Friday is actually going to create a pretty big challenge, actually, which is why we're going to sit here and talk about it. First of all, focus is still on that inner closet, that really annoying inner closet full of junk that we just don't want to deal with, but it has to be done one of these days, right? And every Sagittarian I've ever known has that space, and then all of a sudden gets this bee up their butt to just completely and totally empty it and throw it all out, right? And this might just be that week, you know? You never know. Unfortunately, the moon moves into a position creating a T-square with Mars, which is focused on your day-to-day schedule, as well as Mercury, and Jupiter is in there. Jupiter's influence is in there a little bit, which is focused on the mind and how you think about things. We, of course, have the moon in your sign, which is causing this. So it's going to be emotional, and it's in your secret closet. So what does that tell me? obviously some sort of root is going to be triggered this week at some point, specifically around those days. We're looking at Thursday and Friday. My God, I'm getting so hot. I just can't take this little flannel anymore. I kind of feel like, well, there's a couple of things. First of all, because Mars is a part of this, and Mars is pointing towards your day-to-day schedule, I feel like last-minute schedule changes might have something to do with this. The possibility of maybe, I'm not saying losing clients, but it's like you having a client that keeps canceling, and that fear of, oh my God, is this client gonna like all of a sudden just disappear on me? Kind of those types of things that I am picking up on. And in many ways, a lot of this is just, it's old stuff that always, it's lessons that you've already learned. It resurfaces to kind of test you. God, it's like trying to get out of armor. I'm like exhausted now. More things around your career than anything else, although I feel like there are instances where, say, Joey's schedule or the girl's schedule can kind of sort of come in and complicate things a little bit, but that's really all it is a complication, nothing more than that. So I'm looking at this more as not a big, huge problem, but more of okay, I've been here before. And it's only going to be here. It's just today. What do I do when things just don't seem to go very well and they're making me crazy? Oh, I'm going to go meditate. Or I'm going to go pull some roses or something like that to kind of take your mind off of the frustration, kind of bring you back, bring you centered again, and then just sort of move on from there, if that makes sense. In terms of, I have to say this, in terms of the possibility of a client who's flaky right now, never worry about that for two reasons. One, maybe you don't want them to stick around. Two, people like that tend to come back. So I look at it as the universe choosing which ones should stay and which ones should go, and just kind of sort of leave it at that, if that makes sense. And I have the sneaking suspicion that this is one of those that you would rather just kind of sort of let them float away. That makes sense. No harm, no foul, no anything like that. It's just, I'm really not resonating on the same level as this person, and they need somebody that resonates on their level, kind of a thing. That's really all I have, other than you beautiful witch. I'm seeing you dressed up as a witch. I know that it's Halloween weekend, and that's awesome. And so I see you in your in all your witch glory. Let's just put it that way and leave it there. So that's what I have for you. Moving on to my good, beautiful friend Sheri. Nothing in Sagittarius. Focus is still on the inner closet emotions. Yay, I know you're excited, and it gets even more interesting and even more fun when the moon moves into Sagittarius on Thursday and Friday, moving into a T-square with Mars, which is in its opposite sign, which is also focused on your day-to-day activities, as well as Neptune, which is focused on how you think, and very much in Pisces right now. So, first of all, it's the moon. The moon always creates some sort of emotional reaction. It just happens, right? When you're already focused on the inner closet, when you're already focused on your emotional closet and thinking that, there might be some things that I just might want to get rid of, you never know. The moon coming into that just like amplifies that and goes, it's like somebody burped in the closet and everything just fell out on the floor, right? Now you're forced to look at it and decide what you want to keep and what you want to throw away and how much of that you want to shove back in that closet or not. My advice, for what it's worth, is to look at it and decide what you want to keep and decide what you want to throw away, and possibly throw some of it away, if you can. There's a million ways that life provides this for us, and it's not fun and it's not pleasant. And I really feel like I hate when I have to deal with it, because I don't want to. I don't know anybody that goes, oh my God, I'm so happy that I get to go through my internal emotional trauma. Yay! Nobody does that. I think it would be weird if they did, to be honest with you. But you have to every now and then. And if you don't, it just comes falling out and billowing out all over the place. And usually in a time when we don't want it to, or it's embarrassing, or we just didn't really have that plan today. You know, the moon coming in to activate this definitely, possibly will cause this to happen. However, you have control over that. Believe it or not, you do have some, or maintain some sort of control over that. So knowing what you know now, you can make that bigger or smaller. It's entirely up to you. So that's that. Also, let's talk about mindset a little bit. Being that Neptune's focus is on the mind in this challenge, mindset is really important. Now, I've known you for a long time. When you set your mind to something, I'm not saying that you don't change your perception, because you do. What I am saying is that sometimes it's hard. Like, you can be consciously aware of the fact that you don't want to say maybe anymore, for example. But in your mind, you said it so many times that it just automatically comes out maybe, maybe, maybe. And I don't think that we really always identify where that's happening to be able to separate what is on autopilot in here from what we want to do here. And I think that autopilot really gets in the way a lot of the times when you're trying to move forward, doing something. So maybe keep that in mind as well this week, because I feel like that is something that might be coming up at some point as you're trying to figure out, how come I can't change this? How come I can't make this different? Go to in here to see if your autopilot is what's getting in the way of that. So that's what I have for you, Sheri. And I'm going to move on to Peg. Hi, Peg. Still no planets in Sagittarius. Trust me, we will in a month or so. And well, there's going to be challenges when it does. So let's not wish for it. We do have the moon coming in, which is enough. We do have the moon coming into Sagittarius Thursday and Friday, moving into a pretty challenging T-square with Mars and Neptune. Mars focus is on your day-to-day schedule, and it's a very aggressive focus on that day-to-day schedule, which can tell me that you actually have a pretty busy schedule this week. And Neptune's focus is on how you think about certain situations. Basically, how do you approach a situation? How you think about the situation as you approach it makes all the difference in the world. And of course, the moon is emotions, focused on the deep emotions. We're still focused on the inner closet. We're still focused on that, the stuff that we sort of stuff down there and you know, put it off until later, which is a later that really never comes when you think about it. With all of that being said, all of this being said, it does present a bit of a challenge. And I feel like what is going to kick off the problem is going to be somewhere in your schedule. Either somebody's trying to add time to an already busy schedule and being kind of demanding about it, which is frustrating to you, or you're going to see a few cancellations in your schedule that you may have been counting on, specifically monetarily counting on, which is also very frustrating as well. Neptune's how you think about the situation really is what it's all about. Because for me, yeah, that's a disappointment when there's a cancellation because I may be relying on that money. But at the same time, in a very busy schedule, well, this is all of a sudden a free hour that I have. That's like, oh my God, I have a whole hour. What do I do with it? Kind of a thing. It's like bonus time. Also, when you think about it. So I try to change the way I mentally approach the situation in order to find a way to make that easier for myself, if that makes sense. So that's one way of looking at it. The other is I feel like there is going to be an instance that comes up in your schedule that does trigger some sort of an emotional root. And this happens for a reason. You and I well know that it does happen for a reason. And it's because it's time to release some of that, whatever feeling you have around that root that you've been holding on to. And I feel like you've been actually going through this process a lot the last few years, off and on, almost to the point where you're almost comfortable with it, if that makes sense. Not that you're absolutely excited when it comes either. It's just, it's a lot more comfortable because at least you know what to expect now, if that makes sense. But I also feel like I'm being told words are what seems to kick this whole thing off. And they could be words that were not meant a certain way, but you've taken them a certain way, or they are words that were deliberately said to you in anger. So, for instance, when you're in an argument with somebody, a lot of times we tend to lash out verbally in a hurtful way in order to make a point, right? I don't see that you do that on a regular basis, which is very anti-Sagittarian of you, by the way. But I do see that possibly being directed at you, and that sort of will trigger that root. So, there's a million things that you're going to want to do to try to comfort yourself through that, but you know better also. Take the time to understand why it is such a deep root so that you can eliminate this from being such a deep root in the future, if that makes sense. The other thing that I feel is coming up around you this week is because I do see a very busy schedule for you. That demanding person is coming back up again. So I feel that there is somebody around you who might be rather demanding this week. This actually could be the trigger, in all honesty. Just, having somebody that approaches you in that way is just so very, you're not having it, which I totally get. But I feel like this is also an opportunity to approach it in a different way so that maybe this person will understand what they're doing and maybe find a different way to approach you, if that makes sense. So it's an opportunity to change the way you communicate, to maybe help them change the way they approach their communication with you and vice versa. So that's what I have for you, Peg. And finally, we have Mama Sheri. Hi, Mama Sheri. Nothing in Sagittarius. Focus is still on the inner closet. We did just talk about that last week, actually. Moon comes into Sagittarius Thursday and Friday, creating a bit of a challenge when it moves into opposition with Mars and a square with Neptune, which creates a T-square. It's a pretty big challenge. The moon in the secret closet house to me is emotional outburst, period. It's an emotional outburst waiting to happen. With what you've been through recently, it's not surprising. Um, and in all actuality, what I see in terms of your emotionally dealing, how you emotionally deal with this is that you seem to be fine most of the time, and then it just comes over you all of a sudden. And I feel like it's not just Jasmine, it's a lot of things that are coming out also. Um, in some ways, it's like it opened up a dam that you thought had dried up in many ways. And I feel like the issue with your schedule in this is that I can see where there are times when you step back. I'm not doing any readings this week. I'm not doing any classes this week. I'm not seeing any clients this week. Because you know you need to take the time to work through these things. And you also know that if you don't do it, it can affect the way you approach your clientele. And this may be one of those weeks, or even for a few days, maybe where you need to do this. The other thing is, I'm concerned. My concern is that you may be lashing out in anger. Now, I'm not saying that you go around lashing out in anger on a regular basis, but it's like where normally you can let things kind of sort of roll off your back. It doesn't take much to set you off right now. So I feel like you need to take some more time to process. If that makes sense. Um, the moon's trine with Saturn is actually going to be helpful through this because Saturn is all about your responsibility, and we're looking to the past with Saturn this week. And it's almost inevitable that you're going to go to that I shoulda, coulda, shoulda place, right? Looking to the past. You know, you took the responsibility of those cats very seriously. You took the responsibility of my dad very seriously. You take the responsibility of everybody around you very seriously. There is absolutely no reason for you to even go there because there's nothing that you could have done. And you know that. Logically, you know that. Emotionally, it's like going back and forth. And I keep seeing it going back and forth, back and forth. You have to be the one to put the brakes on that so that it can stop and you can, I don't want to say move on, but you can move past this phase. That makes sense. Not because you need to force yourself to hurry up and move past it, but because let's just face it, by now it's getting kind of annoying, actually. You know, where you're getting annoyed with yourself. I'm not saying that it's annoying. I'm saying that you're getting annoyed with yourself and you would kind of like it to just sort of pass, if that makes sense. The other thing that's sort of coming up around all this is maybe not around all this, but for next week. I keep seeing you getting into argument with somebody around you. So somebody that lives in the proximity, one of your neighbors, it could be Vicky. But I'm not saying specifically that any person ever is actually doing anything to you. I just see something happening and you overreacting to it and then feeling really bad later and then having to go back and apologize and do all that stuff and then beat yourself up because you acted blah 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 blah. It's really important for you. This is why it's so important for you to take the time to meditate, to talk to your guides, to connect with Jasmine, to connect with my dad. to take that time, because it's healing for you. And I feel like when you don't do that, that is when you tend to lash out and attack. It sounds horrible, like you're a horrible person, but and I know that you're not, but you understand what I'm saying. It's like a fuse that's really, really short, and you know how best to lengthen that fuse so that those types of things don't happen. Because in this instance, I don't feel that whatever this person did is enough to be thrown over the coals. And I know you don't either. I'm just trying to help you save yourself from something like that happening, if that makes sense. So that's what I have for you. And that's what I have for everybody. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. If you don't have your order in for your 13 card reading yet, why don't you have your order in for your 13 card reading yet? They are available until the very last day of the year, December 31st, midnight Pacific time. So get those orders in for your 13 card reading for 2023. We're almost there, so close. Last week of October right now. I'm Melissa Bruce, the Heavy Metal Psychic. Thanks for watching. You guys have a great week. I will see you guys next week.